Howdy, and welcome to another Unicorn Chef. This is one where I really wish we'd been recording the pre-show banter because that was a lot of fun. It's always great when I get to do these and I meet somebody who is all the way on the other side of the country. Calling in from 3,000 miles away, we have Yolonda. And Yolanda, first up, what charity are we highlighting tonight?
Tonight, we will be highlighting the Downtown Women's Center of Los Angeles. The Downtown Women's Center of Los Angeles is focused on helping women, particularly women who were previously houseless or homeless, to get back on their feet, to learn the skills that they need in order to get back into the rest of society, get the mental health treatment that they need if they need it, and land on their feet as they're coming out of occasionally intimate partner or abusive relationships.
And you're going to share the link with us afterwards so that we can help everybody donate to that. For those of you who haven't seen, if you look in the show page, there's the ingredients for tonight's show. So whether you're cooking with us live tonight, whether you catch up on the YouTube channel recording later and try to do this, we'd love to see what you make at home. One of my favorite things is seeing how different people make the same dish, and it's always unique to them and it's special. So hashtag Unicorn Chef, share what you're making. Yolanda, as always, before we embark on a great journey, we need to be fortified. What are you drinking?
Today, Bryson, I am consuming a mix, actually. It looks like beer. There's beer in it. It's actually a homegrown brew that I made called tepache, Mexican fermented pineapple drink. And if we get some downtime, you might get to see me make a little tepache on the side here. And it's mixed in with a little bit of Pacifico, another Mexican lager. It goes really, really great for a nice, beautiful spring day here in Los Angeles.
I cannot wait until this whole pandemic thing is over. And the next time I am out in the LA area, I am absolutely going to hit you up to try some of that. It's amazing. So wait, hold it. How do you make it? It's just fermented pineapple?
It's basically just fermented pineapple. So I don't know if you can see over my shoulder here. I'll get out of the way. So I've got 2 pineapples. It's a little spicy. So it's got some habanero, some ginger, a little bit of cinnamon, and then we throw in some brown sugar for the yeast to feed on. And it sits for about 2 days. And a little water, of course. That's how most fermented things work. Little water, little yeast, little burps, and out comes a wonderful fermented pineapple drink. It's about 2% ABV. Not something that anyone should feed to a child, but certainly not anything that you're going to get messed up on.
And what was the name again? What's it called?
Tepache.
Tepache.
Tepache. T-E-P.
Tepache.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. And so you added the Pacifico to up the alcohol content.
I added the Pacifico to give it a little punch. It's somewhat sweet. You can imagine it's basically pineapple juice that's been fermented, so it's somewhat sweet. And the Pacifico just adds a little bit of punch to it. When I do kind of do a whole production with it, I'll usually add a little bit of Malibu rum to just turn it into my own little vacation away from vacation.
I was going to ask if tequila has made an appearance with this before.
Yes.
You're like, I don't actually remember those, but I know it did.
If I recall correctly, tequila was with the tepache, but yes.
I wish I had more of it. Well, I kind of actually have a story behind this. So I am drinking Aced in Space, which is a Imperial India Pale Ale by Phantasm Experimental Version. And how I have this is it showed up in a box at my doorstep, and I don't know who sent it to me.
Do you normally drink liquids that randomly show up at your house?
Apparently I do.
And
let's make some chicken.
How you doing?
And you know what? I'm not in a bar in public, okay? I'm saving my own home.
Awesome. All right, so today we are making street meat. It's halal. For those who have been missing the food truck scene the way I have been missing it in Los Angeles. One of my favorite things to do around lunchtime on a nice day, nice hot day, is to go get a little bit of halal, which is basically just chicken and rice, and then go sit in the park, have a nice cold beer, and feel good about my life choices for a little while. Since we don't have food trucks, I decided to bring the food truck into you, and that's what we're doing today. So the big chunk of this recipe is actually just prep. You will spend very little time doing actual full scary cooking. It's can you chop things and not cut your fingers off, and you'll be okay.
I started with 10.
Yes, we are going to end you with 10. I promise. Oh, I hope I don't know what kind of beer. That beer was 8.5% ABV?
And from a stranger.
And from a stranger's beer, high alcohol content. So I think we'll call it a win if you end up with 9 or 8. And I'm going to feel good about your life choices too. All right. So actually, to get started, I did a little bit of the prep ahead of time. What you should do at the very beginning, you're going to need chicken thighs. You're going to need garlic cloves minced, 4 garlic cloves minced. You're going to need 1 whole lemon. You'll actually need 2 whole lemons, but keep 1 for the white sauce. I like to add a little bit of red onion, like fresh red onion, just to give it a little bit of a and additionally, in terms of the liquids, you're going to need 1/4 cup of olive oil. You're going to need, take that whole lemon and you're going to juice it, 1 whole lemon juice. And then you are going to add coriander, salt, pepper. What else is in this? Coriander, salt, pepper. You don't need the cumin. And yep, that's about it.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at the recipe. I got excited that I got to add red onion to this because I love raw red onion on everything.
I love it. And we're actually going to use this. We're not going to necessarily throw it away. So hold on to it. You're going to let that marinate for as long as you can. You want to go 15 minutes, but for the purposes of our discussion, we're going to let you marinate for as long as you possibly can.
All right, so what are we doing for a marinade here? All of those things, we're throwing it all together?
All of those things. What I like to do is just put it in a little baggie. I started about almost an hour ago. Put it in a little baggie and mix it up, mix it around, let all the spices get to know each other, and then you just want to let it sit.
All right, so garlic, red onion, olive oil, some lemon juice, and then my different spices, probably a little salt and pepper too.
Salt, pepper, yep.
All right, so while we're all getting that going there, what mistakes in life did you make to end up here on this show?
I think I talked about cooking on the internet. I think
That'll teach you.
I think so this pandemic has been one of those things where new skills and new hobbies and interests have come up, and I was a person that was like very afraid of cast iron anything. Everyone's like, you got to get a cast iron pan. I'm like, every time I cook with cast iron, it smokes up the whole apartment. I'm not a cast iron person. And I decided to just get my arms around it, just learn to love the cast iron. And I started doing like cast iron pizza like three or four times a week. And it got out of control. I'll be the first to admit it. But I think I talked about it at some point on Twitter. And then somebody was like, hey, have you thought about doing that on the internet for other people. I was like, I'll do it, especially for charity.
That somebody was me.
Yes.
I like we put that some just random third person. That person just sends beer to people. Like, it's weird. And then that was me. I reached out to you after I saw the food thing, and I was just like, hey, would you like to do this? And like, let's raise some money for charity. That was it.
A stranger on the internet who also drinks strange beer invited me to be a part of this, and I'm very grateful.
All right. In my defense, this drinking strange beers is a new thing for me. Okay, it's not normal. Okay,
not
normally
common.
do that. No, it's not common.
All right. All right, how are you coming?
I mean, these obviously aren't going to get to really marinate, but I got them dressed.
While they are kind of sitting, we can probably go ahead and do the white sauce.
Okay.
All right. So, for your white sauce, let me know. You ready?
Yep.
All right. So, for your white sauce, you're going to need 1 cup of plain yogurt. I'm using just what Amazon sent me. And this is a sauce, so put it in like a bowl or something that you can, serve out of.
All right, got my yogurt.
Okay, yogurt. So we need 1 cup of the yogurt.
And for those of you following along, feel free to ask questions as we go. I will do my best to keep my eye on the chat. All right, yogurt.
Yogurt. All right, we need 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar or white vinegar. I'm using white vinegar today because I don't have apple vinegar.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things about these shows is we work with whatever we got. So I have multiple times we're like, yeah, I don't have anything like that, so I'm doing this instead. I mean, the world is still not quite back to normal.
I certainly was not going to go buy apple cider vinegar for a single teaspoon because I don't use it like that.
Amen. All right.
All right. So that second lemon I talked about, we're going to juice it right into the bowl. Be careful of the seeds.
I feel like I'm making, it smells very like baking to me now, that lemon and the yogurt.
We're going to add a half teaspoon of sugar. And a half teaspoon of salt.
I already did that.
All right. All right, that's your white sauce. Mix that up. Stir it up. If you like things a little more interested, you can choose to add a little bit of pepper. I don't know if there's a cooler name for this, but I call it, well, it's white sauce.
White sauce.
Num, 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 num. That looks good.
All right, in the fridge.
In the fridge. Okay. So one of the things that I do like to do when I make this, the chicken is going to go in batches, and because it's going in batches, we don't want it to dry out. So I like to have a place to land it when it's coming out of the pan. So I have a little prep pan here, and when the chicken comes out, I'll just land it there and I'll keep it covered.
So what do you do for work?
I am the person in charge of cybersecurity at Sweetgreen, which is where all of those crazy kids are commenting from.
It used to be one of my routines pre-pandemic, as I would head over to the yoga studio a couple miles away, and on special days, I would treat myself to a Sweetgreen on the way out.
Awesome. Wait, so are you in Boston?
Oh, no, I'm in Arlington.
Arlington. Oh, okay. Oh, we were out there too. Okay.
I was going to say, yeah, you're like, I know that shop. It's over by Pentagon City.
Yeah. Been there. It's a great one.
Dairy-free yogurt will work. Does the meat have to be the thigh? So this is actually kind of interesting because your recipe asked for skinless, which I'm assuming was for health reasons. I always have skin on mine because I like the collagen that's in the skin. And I also like to render the fat out of it, which is probably what I was doing there in the cast iron. But your thoughts on cooking with other cuts of meat?
So the first question was, does it have to be chicken thighs?
It has to be thighs, yeah.
So I like chicken thighs, and I have cooked it with chicken breasts. Chicken breasts don't have, like, you have to do a lot more to, like, you have to marinate it for a little bit longer to get that level of flavor. I think chicken thighs have a sort of a natural, more direct, just taste to it. Chicken breast takes on whatever taste that you imbue it with. Chicken thighs have a little personality, a little extra. So you could certainly do it with chicken breast. It's just not going to be, I think, as complex or interesting.
But you also got to worry about the meat drying out.
Yeah, true. The other thing that you asked was, does it have to be boneless and skinless? Reason why it's boneless is because it takes longer to cook with the bone in, and we want that. This is meant to be a one pot, real quick. Let's just get this done real quick. Does it have to be skinless? I mean, I don't like biting into fat, and we are going to cut the chicken up and mix it all in with the rice. And I don't like biting into fat. But if it's crispy and it's got the whole Maillard reaction going on, like Bryson's doing, do you have fun? Go nuts.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of chicken thighs, just like with duck, with that skin. Use that skin, render it out, get that nice golden brown crisp that you only get from doing it that way. And you never have to. You almost never have to worry about your meat going dry.
Yeah. Oh, so I tend to go with the boneless and skinless. It tends to go for about 6 minutes. If you are doing like the chicken with the skin on, you might need to take it a little bit longer just to get it to be crispy enough. But
Yep.
And just to be on the safe side, I also have my little meat thermometer with me. We need to go. It needs to fully cook. It needs to be at 160. At about the 3-minute mark, you'll want to flip.
So, what's the worst thing you've ever made on this journey?
Oh, Bryson.
I know you have one.
Oh, I have one. Oh, God. Well, I call myself getting like creative, and I did a. I have a tie for first. One's a drink, and one's a food. The drink will go first. So my favorite drink, my favorite food in the fall/winter is chocolate chip walnut pumpkin bread. I typically do that. I make a couple loaves and then I'll bring them into the office, and everyone gives me a high five, and I feel like a hero for a couple of hours. So I decided, wouldn't that be fun as a drink? And I am a little bit of an amateur brewer, and so I decided to make a beer called chocolate chip walnut pumpkin bread. That was every ounce of awful that it could have been. Nothing about it worked out. It was sludgy. It was flat. The chocolate was imitation, so it tasted like plastic. To get the walnut flavor, I had to actually use pureed walnuts, which led to it being sludgy, and then the yeast didn't know what to do. Never do that. Never ever do that.
I mean, in hindsight, did it occur maybe just like some walnut flavoring?
I could have used walnut flavor.
They make it oil. Yeah.
I could have used walnut flavor. To be fair, I wanted to be a purist. I didn't know how to do chocolate in a way that was going to. If I could have chopped up chocolate and put it in there, I would have. But I didn't think it was actually going to translate. So I ended up using imitation chocolate, or at least like chocolate flavoring, I should say. And then the walnuts themselves were pureed. The pumpkin piece was easy to do, but it did not take well to the beer at all. What else? Yeah, that was truly awful. And I'll be honest, I drank every drop because I needed to learn the lesson.
So I know prior service. Even though drill sergeant's not around, you still had to punish yourself for it.
You have to learn the lesson.
If you did that again, would you drink the whole thing, or would you? No, exactly. Okay.
Well, I mean, hopefully I would have learned the lesson.
All right. Well, so what was the entree that was unleashed upon the planet?
Again, so I was still trying to get my feet underneath me with with the cast iron, and I decided I was going to try a dessert because I'd had other bad luck with searing steak in the cast iron. I'm like, clearly me and steak and cast iron don't work together. So I decided to do a cobbler in the cast iron. It was baked. And what I failed to recognize is that, number one, I hate cobbler. I hate cobbler. I don't eat cobbler in my regular life. I don't know what possessed me to try this.
Whoa, hold on. How do you hate cobbler?
I don't like the texture. It's too much of everything for me.
I mean,
it's all over the place.
It's kind of, it's fruit at a certain consistency with crumble on it.
Yeah.
And you don't like that, the texture of that, right? This isn't like somebody is saying, do you want to eat eel?
Yeah. So there's not a lot of skill, honestly, in doing a cobbler in any form. Yet I somehow managed to screw it up. I did a blackberry cobbler. I didn't put enough sugar, so it didn't macerate. And so it was basically whole blackberries in the bottom of the pan. And then I put a few biscuits on top. I didn't let them come to room temperature, so they're cold biscuits sitting on top. And it went into a hot oven, and it burnt, and it was a mess. I tried to taste it, couldn't even finish one bite of it. It was disgusting, and that was one of my worst mistakes.
So I think you and I have had a similar culinary journey. Mine just started over 20 years ago. So when I was a brand new second lieutenant, I realized I had to feed myself, and I didn't want to go to the DFAC. So I was like, all right. And this is when the internet wasn't just available. You couldn't just have the internet. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to teach myself. I'm going to do it the hard way. I'm going to experiment with different things, and I'm going to go based on just the way like things sound. So I remember this one time I was like, I'm going to, because Applewood steak was like a thing, you would see it like an Applebee's or Chili's, right? So I figured, clearly that involves apples. So I like roasted apples on a steak. It made no sense. It did. Yolonda, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, okay?
Touche.
I was there, all right? You were there. I was there. We've been there. If we start, I have progressed.
You're very.
I can now Maillard without even thinking about it, right? Like I'm on it. But that was the beginning of my journey, and I learned the hard way because I did things literally. I refused to. The internet wasn't available. I refused to get a cookbook, and I just did it based on what I thought things should be, and I learned the hard way. Now, many, 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 many years later, if you can't tell by how gray my beard is, I actually know what I'm doing in the kitchen. But
so would you do it again? Would you do it again? Now knowing what you know?
Oh, doing it the way I did it?
Well, would you have, in terms of that combination of foods, have you tried it again?
Oh, hell no. I mean, they were like, just like your beer story. No, it doesn't. It's not that I did it wrong. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. But you don't know that until you know that. I now know that. My thing that I make at home is I make homemade absinthe.
Oh wow! How does that go?
Pretty good.
So is it distilled?
So I start with the distilled spirit, and then it's just a question of putting the right things in at the right time over a 3 to 6 month time period.
So what's the longest? Is it aged like wines age or?
No, so I mean wines and whiskeys, they get their age from the movement of the temperature with the wood, because wood's porous. Here I actually have, so like there's none of that. All I've got is the right things in a glass bottle, and it does all the work. So there's no aging to this. It's just leaching out the right amount of flavor from what I'm working with. And most people don't like absinthe because absinthe is usually the primary flavor is star anise, which is licorice.
Yeah.
I do not like that, so I don't put that in mine. Mine tastes more like a handcrafted gin, so I go with more like floral and fruit flavors with like juniper.
So do you So you don't use wormwood?
Oh, you have to use wormwood. Wormwood is what makes it absinthe. So wormwood is what gives it its particular properties. The problem with wormwood is very, very bitter.
And
So
does
you
it
have
give
to
you
have
the
all the
whole?
other things.
Does it give you the
Oh, yeah, all
hallucinations?
right. Okay, so this is a polygraph. Am I in a polygraph right now? What level are we having this conversation?
We are on the internet though.
Oh, only like 2 people watch this show. No problem. The chemical property of wormwood that's unique is called thujon, and it's actually regulated in the stuff you buy. The stuff that I make, it's not regulated. But it doesn't actually create a hallucinogenic property. The thing that really did it is, first of all, these people back in the 1800s were all eating lead, and absinthe used to be like 70% alcohol. So basically you got really drunk really fast, and you were already poisoned by a bunch of other things, and then you sort of add a mystique, and that's what was causing it. That being said, you can kind of like you feel like a little tickle in the head, but it's not hallucinogenic. Sorry if it sounded like it should have been more interesting, but
No. I heard that they don't. So I heard that up until recently, it wasn't even sold in the United States.
Yep. Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Is that
sometime
why?
Sometime in the last 5 to 10 years, it was not sold. But I mean, it's like so many other things where it's more of a big business, big policy kind of decision versus it having any grounding in reality.
I get it. So it was. So I'd heard that it was not allowed because of the hallucinogenic properties.
Yeah, no, that's all just like what was that movie about marijuana? It came out like in the 30s, and it was essentially like a propaganda movie.
The one
and
from
at the end of
what is his face? William Randolph Hearst, is that one?
I don't remember. I remember it was Big Tobacco that was behind it, because they saw it as cutting in on their profits.
Big Tobacco.
Big Tobacco. I live in Virginia, so Big Tobacco runs our lives. All right, I just want to show off my nice little like golden brown that you get with that skin.
Beautiful. That's lovely.
All right, so we've got our yogurt sauce chilling. Our chicken is at some point. Mine just takes a little bit longer. What else are we doing here?
So after this, we'll go to the rice in the same exact pot. So chicken will come out as that's going, or as that's cooling down and doing its rest. Then we will take the rice and go directly into the same pot. Before the rice, though, I should have said this. Before the rice comes the butter. And the butter will melt. The rice will come in. You'll toast the rice for about a minute. And then we'll do the spices in there with it. Finally, will come the chicken stock, and that will cook down for about 20 minutes or so.
All right. So what did you do before you joined Sweetgreen, leading cybersecurity?
I worked at Target, and
Target.
Yep.
When were you at Target? What years?
2017 through 2019.
All right. After we're not live anymore, I have a story to tell you.
Okay. So tell me about Grim. I think GrimCon's coming up, right?
GrimCon was today.
Is it today?
I can tell that you enjoyed it and loved it. It was the best thing you ever saw, and I'm so happy that you got to be a part of it.
I'm sorry. I usually am a part of it. Well, at least I usually try to keep up with it. I had to work. I was working on my cooking recipe.
So the fourth GrimCon. So we started GrimCon back at the beginning of the pandemic when all the conferences just shut down. And we're like, well, somebody should continue to try to push that. And so we did our fourth one today, and the next one will be in July. And I think what's really cool about GrimCon is we have a new speaker track. And it's not just like, oh, there's a new speaker track, because I think that lacks the empathy of understanding all of the challenges of bringing for a new speaker to agree and come to something like that. Mm-hmm. So what we do is more than a month before the conference, we pair them with a coach. So there's somebody to help them with their research, help them with their presentation, to help them with their presentation skills, whatever they need, they're there to help get them to where they feel comfortable to go on stage. And why I think that's important is our space thrives on diversity. Mm-hmm. Diversity across any part of the spectrum that represents different background and different thinking, because security is only as good as the imagination. And that comes from all of the different experiences. And the cons that I see are all very, very much the same people saying the same things. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, there's certainly value to that.
Thank you for saying it.
Well, so I really wanted that was the point of my con, is that we found a different way to help bring different voices to the table. And that was today. The next one will be in July. If anybody knows anybody who, even if you've given a talk or two before, just as long as you're not one of the mainstays, we'd love to help you get on stage. That's the whole point. We want different people bringing different ideas. Don't worry so much about the idea. Just have the courage to say, yes, I'm open to this, and we'll help you get the rest of the way there. So that's GrimCon.
Well, I am excited to actually participate in July, or at least as a attendee, and to hear from a bunch of new voices. I will tell you my pet peeve about our industry is that we have a tendency to only ever talk to other security people about security things. And that causes us to really lose sight of why this matters. And I think we incentivize some not good behaviors. Because of that, I'll be honest, I have been a little bit reluctant to jump into security cons in particular, because it's exactly like what you said. It's the same people saying the same things back and forth over and over. And I would say I'm pretty thirsty for hearing from somebody else about something else that matters to people that aren't in security.
I think you would really like the keynotes we had. So I didn't do like a theme, but leading the review committee, I made sure that we had a particular emphasis on the human aspect and empathy. So the keynotes we had, we did a stable of keynotes, and the opening keynote was 3 women. It was InfoStaff, Casey Varr, and Emily Kroos, aka Hexadecimate. Yeah. No, sorry, she was the closing one. Casey, and Trisha Howard. I remember Trisha, because Trisha also dressed up in a full unicorn. So she and I did like a unicorn selfie online. But the 3 of them, the entire opening keynote was around empathy with understanding that through the experience. And then Emily closed the whole conference out with a really hard-hitting conversation on the macro system impact on humanity through time with technology, and the way that still persists today, and how we're doing things at that more of that systemic level. She had a really amazing set of work a couple years ago, for the past couple of years, with respect to unearthing the meaning behind some of the white supremacist iconography that was just sort of hiding in plain sight, and being able to bubble that up so people could get a better understanding of what they were sort of just walking by idly. I'm a big fan of hers. Big fan of everyone on the keynote lineup. So, will it be posted, or is it already posted? So it usually takes the staff a few weeks, but on the Grim YouTube, everything will be posted. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's a free conference. It's the kind of thing that you can tune in, catch what you want, have it in the background, and then we post all the recordings. So all of this is there, just available for the community, driven by the community. One of the things I missed from all the community events that I used to do is I would, at most of the conferences, I would cook for everybody too. So we would host events and we would invite people over because we usually would rent like a house and we would have more like a backyard barbecue kind of thing. And I will cook for 50 to 100 people.
Do you think Grimm is going to, so I'm imagining the con in July is going to also still be virtual. Do you think there'll come a time when Grimm goes face to face?
That's a good question. So I don't know if GrimmCon is going to turn from being virtual, because I think we fit a really convenient niche with bringing folks from around the world in. I mean, we had people dialing in from South America, from Europe, from the Middle East, from Asia, and I like that kind of appeal. My full-time job, which is at a company named Scythe, we have our own user conference called Unicon. And that's actually where the unicorn comes from, is all my work there. And our conference is on April 9th, which is National Unicorn Day. I just learned that was a thing. And that conference I can see turning into a real life conference at some point. But enough about me. Back to you.
What do you want to know? What can I tell you?
All right. Well, so why did you, join the Air Force?
Oh boy. So I think you're actually gonna really like this story. So my mom was an Army drill sergeant, and I distinctly remember when I was starting to think about college, she was like, "Hey, how are you going to pay for that?" And I was like, "I thought you had this covered with your GI Bill." And she said, "No, I don't. I'm going to school with my GI Bill." So she took her GI Bill and went off to earn her degree. Very happy that she did that. But when I said, "Okay, well, why don't I just get an Army ROTC scholarship?" She was like, "No, you're not joining the Army." I was like, "Why not? I lived with you for 18 years. I think I can handle the Army." and she was like, "Choose a service that is doing something that's close to what you're interested in." And at the time, I was that very sad child that would come home from school and like build web pages just for fun, and routinely would break the computer at home and would get in a lot of trouble for it. But she was like, "You need to find a service that's doing something like what you love." And I looked around, and sure enough, Army didn't have anything related to building web pages in what they were giving scholarships for. The Air Force, though, had scholarships for people that like to work with computers, and I did. So I applied to the Air Force scholarship, and I happened to win one, and it just was enough to cover my tuition at school. So that's how I found myself in the Air Force. How about you? Why'd you join the Army?
So when I was a young teen, I really wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. I wanted to be a pilot, like I think probably everybody does at one point. Like, oh, that's so cool. But my vision became like 2030 or 2040 or something, where at that time, because this was the 90s, like that doesn't work. And as I got older toward the end of high school, I felt like the Army spoke to me the most in terms of being well-rounded, and at the end of the day, it was all about people. And so I went to West Point, and that was I was a black sheep at West Point.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, no, I stuck out like a sore thumb. It was I can remember, like, the way I would summarize it, I would say in the beginning is, where, basic and you're learning and they're yelling at you. And I just kind of sit there in my head and be like, dude, I'm right here. Like, I don't get it. Why are you yelling at me?
Why so much yelling?
Why is there so much yelling? And why am I always the one being yelled at? Oh, wait, I'm the fuck up. Yeah, I was the fuck up. I was that guy. You know that, right? Where there's always that story from Basic where everybody's like, that guy? I was that guy. You can go to the entire class of West Point and tell 2 stories, and everybody will know that story. They may not know it's like me exactly, but they know that story. I was that guy.
So the thing is either you were that guy or you were or you were not that guy, but you were constantly worried about becoming that guy.
No, I was just inadvertently that stupid.
Oh.
Yeah, no. I learned. Clearly I progressed from there, okay? You know what? I pureed walnuts, I put it in the beer. Eventually I learned not to do that, and I figured out how to make beer. That's how I got through, right? By the end, I was okay, and I figured it out, and I was a pretty good officer, if I do say so.
How long were you in?
I was in for 4 years. I got hurt, and when we were redeploying to Iraq in 2004, they said, "Captain, you're out."
Yeah.
What about you?
I was in for 8. I happened to be there at a time when the cyber protection forces and all those things were starting to stand up. And it was a real struggle to figure out if I was going to like step away or if I was going to make it a career, especially, now that the Air Force was starting to really, think about, cyber as a war fighting domain. And, they sent me to training, and they sent me off to all the different schools that I wanted to go to. And 8570 was my best friend for a little while. And when I started thinking about, okay, well, what's after this? What's after cyber protection force? It was going to be, for me, it was going to be a lot more of the same, right? And just, I was going to get further and further away from the mission, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep working. I wanted to be close to the mission. And not that I didn't love people, but I still also wanted to be able to like do stuff.
So were you were there part of when 24th was standing up?
Yeah. In fact, I'll show you something here in a second. I'm toasting the rice right now. What part are you on? What part are you on?
Oh, I'm let's see how far I am. I'm, by my estimation, I'm not far away. I probably got another like 5 minutes. So were you pink building?
Yeah.
We need to have that conversation afterward. I want to know what time you were there. You and I might have actually met.
So this is supposed to go up in my office. Let's see if I can show you this. Yep. That was me. Well, I was there when they stood up the command, at least.
Oh, that was the general that used to fall asleep.
Yes.
Yeah, you know the guy I'm talking about. What was his name?
Yeah. It was a running joke for a long time. It was kind of like, how long are we gonna have him?
Oh no! And then they brought in Zan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you and I could have some stories.
Yeah. Were you down there? Were you down at the?
Not exactly. I had at that time I had a different role that was very widespread, and they came into my space.
So was this with No Such Agency?
No.
Okay. Fair.
I know the mystery deepens, and we will not progress further right now.
Yep. Fair enough.
So, all right. So this is where I'm gonna throw a curveball and be a little provocative. I'm gonna wait for you to finish your drink because there was 2 seconds there where I was like, I want to watch her like spray it across the kitchen. CMMC.
If I'm thinking about a maturity model, otherwise, I'm not sure what we're talking about.
Yeah, no. So CMMC, the progression for 8570 for the rest of the supply chain.
Yep. What about it?
Your thoughts? Trust me, Katie Arrington's not watching us.
I mean, so there's two versions out there. Are you talking about the version that is the tongue-in-cheek, this is BS version, or the
no. I mean the one that is already being rolled out into contracts and is being pushed onto the supply chain.
That's okay.
110 requirements. You have to pass them all. That one.
Yeah. Yes. So I think that it is. I have not a high opinion. I'll be the first to say it. I do not have a high opinion of the dib. And I do think that a lot of that is the tail wagging the dog and the dib once again doing their thing and injecting, I would say, unrealistic for most people requirements into a space where we're already challenged to get basic buy-in, right? I kind of think it's a little bit of a marketing scheme. I put my spices in, by the way. The spices that I'm using, cumin, turmeric, salt. What else was in this? Sorry. Yeah, butter, turmeric, cumin, and I'm about to do the chicken stock.
Angela in chat, who's talking about CornCon, I just looked up 2020 and it looked like McCarthy was a significant component of that. And McCarthy gave a talk today at GrimCon, which is where I first met him. He's the founder of Shadowscape.
Okay. Right on.
So what are your priorities and emphasis at Sweetgreen?
Speaking of CMMC, I will tell you that we are we want to make sure that we have a good understanding of our vendor risk, because so much of what we do, and frankly what a lot of people do, right?
Well, I mean, I would assume the vendor risk component has been driven by the last 4 months.
Well, no, honestly, this predated SolarWinds and all that stuff. I mean, vendor risk has been a problem for everybody for a long time, but SolarWinds, I think, really brought it to the forefront, or at least made it something that everybody was able to talk about and understand how the magnitude of how bad it was. I've been on the vendor risk thing really since I got at Sweetgreen, because we do have a lot of vendors that we work with. So making sure that we have understanding of what their risks are, because coming from Target, you can imagine how that I might be a little bit sensitive to vendors with access to our platform. And making sure that we have our arms around that has been a really good understanding, has been a real priority for me. After that, honestly, Bryce, it's about doing the little stuff. This is the first time Sweetgreen has had a security program, right, in 13 years. So we're trying to just start with the basics. Well, what we consider basics in security, right? It's, do we know what we have? Do we know how it's configured? Is it, who owns it? Who's keeping up with it? Do we have a baseline for things? Do we know when things look abnormal? That's where we are in terms of our maturity. And I think we're making good progress for sure. I think we got a lot of work to do. 13 years worth of work. So this rice is gonna boil. Once it starts boiling, then you put the cover on.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I like to go ahead and get my garnishments ready to go.
I need to draw your attention to the chat where one of your employees is kissing your ass.
Oh, really? Who is it?
Mm-hmm.
Who is it?
Michael Valdez. Foundation is everything. We definitely got a great leader in the field, though.
Okay, Michael. Thanks, Michael. But he's right, though.
You should come talk about it at one of these cons.
I will. Actually, on not for nothing, I go on kind of a off year talk kind of a thing. So last year, before I got to Sweet Green, I did 15 talks over a period of a summer. I did Diana Initiative, a couple of local talks in Minneapolis before I left for Target. BoatCon, what else? Yes, there was something like 15, a workshop. I was crazy that summer. This year, the past year and a half or so, especially with the pandemic, I've been like, let me just chill and get my stuff together. But the idea is, of course, next year, hopefully, we'll have our stuff together in a way that I can actually talk about what we learned, and hopefully make it easier for somebody else. Oh, the only other thing I'll mention here is that the recipe calls for parsley as the garnish. I actually like cilantro, so if you have cilantro, use that. But parsley works too.
I bought the thing you said.
I know. I'm sorry.
I prefer cilantro too.
I'm sorry.
Well, I want to offer that you have a standing invitation to speak at any of my conferences anytime. You just let me know, please. We'd be more than honored to host you.
Well, I hope my boss, Paul Horvath, is also on this so I can go ahead and get that permission to do so.
He was on at the beginning. It's funny how he sort of kind of got quiet in the chat.
The other thing that I like to add, just as a little bit of brightness, is a little tomato. Again, I know the recipe didn't call for that, but I like just a little bit of diced tomato to keep things feeling fresh.
2 weeks ago, we had a professional Cajun chef on teaching gumbo, and it starts with a sofrito. And with the tomato, instead of adding it toward the end, I would actually go more for like a sofrito with the chicken and almost like burn the tomato and then mix it in with the rice.
And so this was in the gumbo, so it was more like a paste. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it kind of like it blackens, right? You're blistering it, and it forms that like umami like core. I probably would dial it a little bit back because I'm not going to overwhelm it with all the other things with the taste and the texture that I make in a gumbo. But for this, toasting that tomato probably just before I throw in the rice might be interesting. The other technique that I really, really like is from the Good Krebs, and that is smoking tomatoes. So take cherry tomatoes, smoke them, keep them in olive oil in your fridge, and then just throw them in anything that requires tomatoes, and it's just a completely different like level.
And it's like, I'm sure it's got like a beautiful like blister on it too. Oh, I bet that's delicious. Delicious.
All right, Horvath is on here. He's claiming inebriation is the reason he's been quiet.
Yeah, okay. Although actually,
I ain't buying it.
yeah, I'm not. I mean, I kind of buy it, but. All right. Anywho, so the main part of the cooking is actually done. We just gotta wait to serve it.
Yeah, you let me know. I am ready to plate whenever you are.
Is your rice done?
Yeah. Microwave. Toot, toot, toot.
Yeah. Well, I'm setting the timer. What I will do in the meantime, in between time, while we're waiting on the rice to finish up, it's just got to boil down. I'm going to go ahead and do a bonus recipe for the team.
Most importantly for Paul, he wants to know, is this recipe easy to make while he's on his Peloton?
I mean, I guess you could try. Let's try it. Let's try it. I suppose you could try. Alrighty. So, you heard me talk about tapache at the very beginning of the call. You will need a big ass glass thing. Well, not glass, but as long as it's a big ass.
No, so like how I was making my absinthe.
Yeah, basically that size, big ass something. You're gonna need a couple of pineapples. You're gonna need a little bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon sticks work better, but I don't have cinnamon sticks, so cinnamon. A cup of brown sugar, some fresh ginger, and as many hot peppers as your little heart can stand.
I don't think it's the heart that has the problem.
It's the colon, yes. The important thing here is actually not to wash. Do not wash anything, because you will wash off the natural yeast that is built up on the side of the pineapple. So. Get that out of the way. Just gonna cut the two of these up right quick. This does go fairly smooth, well, fairly quickly, because you're just literally gonna chop this up. One little tip I give is this little inside part is kind of tough and the yeast doesn't take to it very well. So just slice that off, that little top part. And then break it down into chunks. And all this is going. Rice is almost done. All right.
Creative question. What about adding lemongrass to this?
I bet it would be delicious. Truly delicious.
I made my first cocktail with lemongrass on Monday. To be fair, I was like 3 drinks in when I decided to do it. But in my defense, it was delicious.
Isn't lemongrass really hard to work with?
Like harder than cinnamon?
Like, don't you have to like go through stuff to get the flavor to come out? Like, do you have to slice it or something? I distinctly remember seeing a show where someone was like banging it on a countertop.
Is this like how I open up mint? I gotta like open it up.
Is it like that?
Yes, so it's a hard stalk, and you have to open that up a little bit. But on the other hand, like I wasn't going for like a super hard lemongrass flavor. It was more just like a color.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Paul wants to know if I've had any interesting mishaps on prior streams. I don't think he's on, but I did take a kind of vacation where I had a guest host on with my unicorn chefs for 2 weeks. I was there in the background doing production. And on one of those episodes, both of them set off their fire alarms.
Can I just tell you, that was actually kind of like my worst fear, like my worst nightmare about this whole thing.
And the best part about this is not only was I not on camera, well, actually, I would jump on the camera at set points because they also, one of those episodes, they set the record for the longest amount of talking with no food being produced. And so I had to jump in and be like, make the food. It's a cooking show.
Well, is that the reason why their stuff got caught on fire? It's because
no. So it catching on fire means things actually made it to the stove. They hadn't even put anything on the goddamn stove.
Nice.
There was nothing being done. It was just talking, food over here, talking. So I would like jump in and be like, cooking show, produce stuff. The other one was just the vagaries of the kitchen, and things burned. Fire alarms were set off in both houses.
Nice.
And the best part was I just got to hang out in the background on chat making fun of it. To be fair, one of them was Canadian, so, you can see how that would go.
Is that so? I blame the Celsius versus Fahrenheit on that one. Was he cooking at Celsius? I'm
That's right. He was like, I don't understand. 400 Celsius. This is burning.
400 Celsius. This is like on fire. Are you serious? All right, we're just about done with the rice here, and it just so happens I'm just about done with cutting up these habaneros. While that is finishing up, what you might do, Bryson, is start cutting up your chicken into small slices. No? What? What's wrong? Why are you saying no?
No, I'm just going to serve it on top of the bed, and the eater, which will be me and the daughter, we'll just do that with the rice.
Okay. All right. And let's do...
It's an experience. I'm offering an experience on the plate.
It's not street meat, though. Street meat should be something that I put in a pita, throw some schmutz on there, and keep walking.
I hear you, but I don't see any pita.
You're right. You're right.
So it's going on a plate.
It's
Peloton, that one.
It's street meat adjacent.
It's orthogonal. And as I get to the bottom of this beer, I am definitely feeling orthogonal. Pretty delicious. Very strong.
Well, now I want to get to the bottom of who sent it to you, because like what brewery is it from again?
So the box had different locations in it. It wasn't like a shipment from like a place. It was somebody who sent me a collection of things.
Did you get signed up for a beer of the month club or something? And
I don't. There was no thing like that was like welcome to a beer of the month. It was just a box with beer in it. Now, all right. So this isn't like sketchy box of beer. I mean, I'm not one notch away from there's a van that says free beer on it with blacked out windows. But I mean, they were all properly like boxed and everything, and it was clearly from some place that specializes in this. I just don't know who sent it to me, and I feel really bad because this all has been very good beer, and I would love to thank whoever did it.
Well, mystery person, if you are on, please present yourself. All right, I think we're just about done here. I'm supposed to let this chill or not chill, but do nothing like more for about 10 minutes. But in the interest of me being hungry, I'm gonna go now.
All right.
Okay. And as for me, I'm gonna get street meat adjacent and cut my chicken up.
Is that really the song you were just whistling?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
All right. So if you are following along at home and you are being street meat adjacent, I'm just doing these little chunks. If you're not, then you're not. And I appreciate you anyway. All right.
Does Michael live in your area as well?
In the California, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He talks a good level of smack, so it seems like somebody like going and enjoying the tapacha.
Tapacha, yes.
I got it. All right. So getting to try the tapacha and hang out and talk shit with Mike sounds like a fun time.
Well, if you want to hear a bunch of Navy bullshit, then yes. Hanging out
let's
with
some of that.
Fine.
Yeah. I mean, I like dry land. I like doing real work for a living.
Oh, snap. Hope you heard it, Michael.
No. To be fair, I mean they were always adjacent to the war. I remember that. I got into it with the 2-star admiral the other year, and he was like, I've gone without a shower before. I'm like, really? You've done wet naps for 2 months? He was like, well, this one time we ran out of water. We had to clean ourselves in the ocean. And I was like, okay, dude. Sub stories. Oh, all right. Michael, question. Because there's 2 kinds of subs. You short attack or you a boomer? This tells me everything I need to know about your personality. Here we go.
What do you say?
No response yet. Fast attack. You know how I knew that? You actually had a sense of humor. You know why? Because a sense of humor is never in a book.
Ooh. Okay. So I am just about on the plate here. I spilled some of it, so life is hard. I put a little bit of the tomato mixed in. I do like a little bit difference in texture there. But cilantro. All right. think I am plated.
You let me know when you are ready. I am lining up our screenshot.
I'm gonna put a little bit more chicken in here because street meat adjacent.
Yeah, because you cut it up, so you know you're compensating. It's cool.
All right, I think I'm ready. Hopefully, it doesn't slide off the plate here.
No, get in there. Smile. Get in there and smile.
Can you see?
Yeah. There we go.
Let me see yours.
All right, before we eat, Yolonda, our charity again for people to donate, and we will post the link later.
Please donate to the Downtown Women's Center of Los Angeles. Before COVID, it was a habit of mine to go to the center and teach digital literacy courses. This is the kind of thing that a lot of us take for granted as stuff that everybody knows, but as we all recognize, a good chunk of us just need to end up getting cut off because we don't make room for everybody to be a part of what the cool new things that we're working on. So please donate. Your dollars and your cents will go towards things like digital literacy courses, things like clothing, food, shelter, all sorts of beneficial training, and making sure that women are safe and ready to be a part of the larger society. So appreciate it.
And if you do donate, share that with us. You can send it to me anonymously. We always like to sort of keep track of these things. We've raised over $10,000 year to date on all the different things we've been doing. And I think this is actually our 1 year anniversary. So 1 year of making the kitchen a little more accessible and making the world a little bit better. And most of us a little drunker at the same time. I mean, people in the Air Force don't have a tolerance. It's reasonable.
We do. Trust.
Oh, I do. But how else are you going to do your exercises than 12-ounce curls on the golf course?
That sounds like a lot of jealousy. It's wafting.
Oh, I am so jelly. We could talk about my times over there and what I saw y'all getting. So yeah, I got jelly. We'd love to see what you make at home. #UnicornChef. Every Wednesday, please join us. And we try to post the recipe a week plus or minus. Sometimes that's the chef. Sometimes that's me getting around to it. Either way, at least the day before, we'll post the recipe. We'd love to see you. Y'all take care.